Lots of great stuff. That's great. Great group of students and employees. And proud to recognize them. I think I've used up my time a lot this morning on the superintendent's report, but that's a good thing. Positive. I can close with superintendent.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Mr. Key, you have an attorney report.
Yes, so we have 3 property contract matters and 1 personal contract matter, all of which need to be taken up in executive session.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Need to approve the May 1st, 2025 board minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Before we move to approve the consent agenda, again, just want to say thank you to Ms. Elder and all of our administrative staff for getting us the information that we need to make timely and well-educated decisions. So again, thank you all for that. Moving forward, consent agenda is A through FFF. What is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the consent agenda.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. New business, Mr. Williams. How are you this morning? Good. I'm good. We have a bus lane repaving project at Lewisburg Primary School.
Yes, sir. Bids were open on April 23rd, Lewisburg Primary Bus Lane repaving project. 3 bids were received, and it's my recommendation to accept the lowest and the best bid from Barnes and Brown.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the lowest and best bid from Barnes and Brower for the bus lane repaving project at Lewisburg Primary School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, contractual agreement with Barnes and Brower for the Lewisburg Primary School.
Yes, sir. We're requesting permission from the board board to enter into a contractual agreement with Barnes and Brower for Lewisburg Primary School bus lane repaving project.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve entering into a contractual agreement with Barnes and Brower for the bus lane repaving project at Lewisburg Primary School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, bids for copy paper.
Yes, sir. Reverse auction was conducted May the 2nd. Copy of papers for the district. It's my recommendation to accept the lowest and the best bid from American Paper and Twine.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the lowest bid from American Paper and Twine for the copy paper.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Bids for solid waste collection and disposal.
Yes, sir. Sealed bids were received on May the 1st for the monthly cost of solid waste collection and disposal for the district. It's my recommendation to accept the lowest and the best bid from Waste Connections of Tennessee.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the lowest bid from Waste Connections of Tennessee for the solid waste collection and disposal.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Permission to install digital informational sign at Walls Elementary School.
Yes, sir. Walls Elementary is seeking permission to install a digital informational sign located at the front entrance of the school. The PTA is paying for the sign and it will be donated to the district upon completion.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the installation of the digital sign at Walls Elementary School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, a request to reimburse an employee in transportation.
Yes, sir. In your packet is a diesel receipt and a memo from Mr. Levi Williams. Mr. Williams used his personal credit card to purchase fuel for a bus. He's requesting to be reimbursed for that purpose.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the request to reimburse the employee for transportation.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Haddon. How are
Good
you?
morning, I'm doing fine, how are you?
Doing fine. Statement of revenue and expenditures for March 2025.
Okay, revenue collections through March for the general funds was $302,414,185, which is actually 5% higher than the FY '24 revenues at $288,904,432. Again, the increase is due to the increased valuation of ad valorem and the increase in MSFL. Revenues for all funds were at $345,638,913, which is an increase of 4% over FY '24. The general fund expenditures through March are at $225,648,902, which is 5% higher than the FY '24 expenditures at $214,713,966. Expenditures for all funds are at $299,029,904, which includes construction expenditures. The increase in expenditures is still in line with the budget.
Great. Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the statement of revenue and expenditures for March 2025.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Ms. Hadley, combined balance sheet for March 2025.
The fund balance for all general funds is at $247,997,899, which is up 10% over FY '24, which was at $225,452,66.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the combined balance sheet for March 2025.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Ms. Hadley, statement of cash flow for March 2025.
Okay, the March cash balance for district maintenance is at $243,135,084, which is 83% of the cash balance for all funds, standing at $291,759,065. The amount invested with the Shellnut Regions Bank at the end of March is at $52,433,500.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the statement of cash flow for March 2025.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Certification of bank reconciliations for March 2025.
Yes, and I am happy to report that all bank statements have been reconciled with no exceptions.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the certification of bank reconciliations for March 2025.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Ms. Hadley, resolution to retain legal counsel and municipal advisor.
Yes, I am asking permission to approve the resolution to retain Young Law Group. And it is in your Exhibit A for any potential bond, note, or lease issues that may occur between May the 15th, 2025 through June 30th of 2026. Also is in your packet is Exhibit B, which is also an engagement letter for the services for the Muni Group, who also serve as bond counsel and as financial advisors for the issuance of any debt that may come in the future.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the resolution to retain legal counsel and municipal advisor.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Hadley.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Hassman. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good.
Good. Revised board policy AA, school district legal status.
Yes, sir, we're asking to revise this policy to remove language that referenced the old MAEP funding formula.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy AA for school district legal status.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing that, that motion passes. Revised board policy IEDB, classifications of students.
We're asking to revise this policy to include the number of credits that high schools must offer yearly as part of the curriculum.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy IEDB for classification of students.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Revised board policy IHA, grading system.
We're asking to revise this policy to differentiate the exemption requirements for 8th graders since they take half-credit history courses at the end of each semester.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy IHA grading system.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Hassman.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Alexander. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well.
Good. Personnel.
Yes, sir. Since there are only 3 board members present, I'm not going to ask any board member to step out during this presentation. Pages 1 and 2 are recommendations. Pages 3 and 5 are personnel changes. Page 6 is the memo from Ms. Williams, our Director of Mental Health, on the request to approve a $5,000 supplement for an employee that will perform all administrative foster care duties. This will be after hours, weekends, and holidays. Page 7 through 11 is a memo and job description from Ms. Williams to approve the addition of a therapeutic social worker who will identify barriers to education and work to find solutions and provide student support. Pages 12 through 15 is a memo from Ms. Goss, our Director of Special Education, request to add 7 504 case managers to the district to oversee our high caseloads that we have. Page 16 is a memo from Ms. Goss, request to increase the supplement for teacher assistants that are handling body fluids from 5% to 10%. Page 17 is a memo from Ms. Goss, request to increase one of the psychologists from 187 days to 230 day schedule that will work on assessments this summer. Page 18 is a memo from Ms. Goss, request to add a supplement to a secondary special education classroom. These rooms will be limited to 5 students, specifically designated educated students with aggressive behavior and limited verbal abilities. Teacher would receive a $3,000 supplement, and the teacher assistant would be paid 20% supplement over. Page 19 is a memo from Ms. Goss on the request to increase one of the occupational therapists from 187 days to 230. This will also work on assessments this summer. Page 20 is a memo from Ms. Goss on the request to add a special education supervisor position. This position will be paid out of federal funds. Page 21 is a memo from Ms. Goss on the request to add 2 additional therapeutic interventionists. Page 22 is a memo from Ms. Goss on request to add 1 teacher and 1 assistant to Project Connect. Page 23 is from Ms. Goss to request to pay all Project Connect assistants at 20% supplement. Page 24 is a memo from Coach Jenkins, our Director of Athletics, on names that will help us on the 25-26 school year. We have a gentleman that will help with basketball at Olive Branch High, and a gentleman will help with football at Olive Branch High. Pages 25 through 28 is a memo and job description. Ms. Patsy Davis, Director of Health Services. She wants to reclassify a nursing supervisor position from a 200-day to a 187-day position. Page 29 is a memo from Mr. Chase, our Chief Operations Officer, on the request to add 1 230-day investigator school resource officer position for the 25-26 school year. Page 30 is a memo from Mr. Williams, our Director of Transportation, request to pay a stipend in the amount of $40 per day for all new bus drivers and bus aides who will attend and complete in-service training. Pages 31 and 32 is a request for additional pay from Mr. Williams on employees that will work ESY transportation. They'll be paid at their daily rate, and that's a 6/2 through 6/26 dates. Page 33 and 34 is a request for additional pay from Mr. Williams on employees working transportation wash crew. They'll be paid $12 an hour. Dates are 5/27 through 7/30. Page 35 is a request for myself on Ms. Hodges to work 10 additional days in June as a new principal at the DeSoto Central Primary. She'll be paid at her daily rate of pay. This would be from 6/10 through 6/30, the 10 days she chooses. Page 36 is the same, but this is for Mr. Nichols. And the same, his dates would be, he could begin at 6/5 and go through 6/30 also. Page 37 is for Ms. Rohrbacher at Hernando Intermediate School, and that would be from 6/10 through 6/30 also. Page 38 is for Ms. Johnson, her additional days at Hope Sullivan, 10, and that would be 6/10 through 6/30. Page 39 is for Ms. Dewitt, and her 10 days at Pleasant Hill would be from 6/5 through 6/30. Page 40 is additional pay from Ms. Green, our Director of Emphasis, on employee to work to train as a new clerk at Oak Grove. She can work up to 80 hours at her hourly rate from a 6/3 through 6/30. Page 41 and 42 is additional pay from Ms. Ingram, our Director of Federal Programs, on employees at South Haven Intermediate School who will create professional development materials and resources, a total of 500 hours at $30 per hour, with dates of 5/29 through 7/27. Page 43 and 44 is also for Ms. Ingram. This is employees to work the summer reading camp at Horn Lake Elementary, a total of 400 hours. Those dates are 6/2 through 6/26. Pages 45 and 46 is for Ms. Goss. This is employees who work on planning instruction for Project Connect. This will be a total of 160 hours at daily rate of pay, and that's a 6/2 through 7/25. Page 47 and 48 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Goss on employees working to provide psychological evaluations during the summer at their hourly rate of pay, 750 hours total, beginning 6/2 through 7/25. Page 49 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Goss on employees who will provide student evaluations for a total of 150 hours at their hourly rate at 6/2 through 6/30. Do those dates. Page 50 and 51 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Geis on employees to teach the visually impaired and help with summer evaluations, total of 100 hours. Dates are 6/2 through 7/25. Page 52 is a request from Ms. Geis on employee that will be working to provide psychological evaluations this summer for a total of 150 hours at the hourly rate, and those dates are 6/2 through 6/30. Pages 53 through 54 is also from Ms. Geis. This will be, the following sped teachers list will be working to schedule, coordinate meetings for IEPs. This will be a total of 1,350 hours at their hourly rate, and that's 6/2 through 7/25. Page 55 through 56, request for additional pay from Ms. Geis on employees that are working on speech evaluations for the summer, a total of 700 hours at their hourly rate, and that's also 6/2 through 7/25. Page 57 is from Ms. Geis. Supplemental hours for an employee as a positive behavioral specialist to coordinate meetings and schedule eligibility meetings for the summer. This will be a total of 150 hours from 6/3 through 7/11. Page 58 through 59 is request for additional pay from Ms. Geis on employees for audiology evaluations and assessments. It's a total of 150 hours at their hourly rate, and that's a 6/2 through 7/25. Pages 60 and 61 is from Ms. Geis and his employees to work summer supplemental hours for the pre-kindergarten staff. That's a total of 1,050 hours, and that's the same date as previous. 62 through 63 is Ms. Geis on employees to work the early intervention teams to assess pre-K students, a total of 600 hours with the same dates previously listed. 64 through 65, Ms. Geis is employees to transport students to Health Connect. It'll be a total of 14 days at their daily rate of pay, the same dates. 66, 67 is from Ms. Geis, is occupational therapist that will work supplemental hours during the summer, a total of 200 hours, the same dates. 68 is Ms. Geis also, this is for occupational therapists who will work supplemental hours this summer for a total of 50 hours at their hourly rate with those dates. Page 69 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Geis on employees to work to develop lesson plans for community-based classes for a total of 60 hours with those same dates. Page 70 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Hallmark, our Director of Child Nutrition, on employee to work to oversee the summer feeding operations. She'll be paid at her daily rate with dates of 5/30 through 6/30. Pages 71 and 72 is a request for additional pay for employees to work the YMCA camps, the summer school and summer reading camps, and they'll work a total of 175 hours at $14 per hour, and that's 5/27 through 6/30. Page 73 is from Ms. Treadway, our Director of Primary Schools, on employee to train at a new elementary specialist for a total of 80 hours. That's 6/2 through 6/30. Pages 74 through 150 are 2025-2026 classified employee recommendations. Page 151 is a recommendation for an employee in human resources for data support. Pages 152 through 153 is a recommendation for a part-time employee along with a provisional pay for an employee waiting licensure. And page 154 is a request for additional pay for a new principal to work in June, 10 days as new principal at Oak Grove Central Elementary, and to be paid at her daily rate. And the 10 days will be chosen between 6/5 and 6/30.
That's all?
That's it. No.
Thank you.
I got nothing.
Mr. Rusk, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve personnel as presented.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, personnel passes. Thank you, sir. Mr. Finley, do we have any student discipline matters for executive session?
Mr. Chairman, we have student discipline matters to address in executive session.
Thank you. I need a motion for consideration of closed session to determine whether the board should enter into executive session for the following matters: student discipline matters, superintendent's facility use matter, a superintendent personnel contract matter from the superintendent potential litigation, an attorney's personal contract matter, and an attorney's property contract matters. Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will, in closed session, and Mr. Chase will come back and inform you whether we stay in executive session. Thank y'all.